One of the most important lessons that emerges when looking at long-term strength, mobility, and nerve comfort is that consistency matters far more than intensity or speed. In a world that constantly promotes quick fixes, dramatic transformations, and overnight results, it can be difficult to accept that the body simply does not work that way. Connective tissues, nerves, and muscles respond slowly to nourishment and care. They adapt over time in response to repeated signals that resources are available and stress is manageable. This is why long-term consistency, simple preparation, and mindful habits often outperform aggressive interventions or short-term efforts. Collagen-rich foods are a perfect example of this principle. Eating a large amount once in a while is unlikely to create meaningful change. Connective tissues require a steady supply of building blocks over time. When collagen is consumed regularly in small portions, the body receives a consistent message that it can invest in maintenance and repair. This gentle repetition allows tissues to gradually strengthen and stabilize. People who rely on occasional bursts of effort may become discouraged when results do not appear quickly, while those who adopt quiet daily habits often notice subtle improvements that build month after month. Simple preparation plays an equally important role. Traditional approaches rarely rely on complicated recipes or highly processed products. Slow simmering, gentle grilling, drying, and basic seasoning are common methods. These preparations make collagen easier to digest and integrate into the body's existing systems. Simplicity also makes habits easier to maintain. When food preparation feels manageable, it is more likely to become a routine rather than a chore. Over time, this ease supports consistency without requiring constant motivation. Mindful snacking is another key factor. Snacks are often treated as indulgences or distractions, consumed without attention or purpose. When snacks are chosen intentionally to support the body, they become part of a larger pattern of care. A small cup of broth, a piece of fish with skin, or a modest collagen-rich dish eaten calmly can support tissues without overwhelming digestion. Mindfulness encourages awareness of how the body responds, making it easier to adjust habits based on personal experience rather than external rules. This mindful approach also helps prevent overconsumption. Eating large amounts in the hope of faster results can place unnecessary strain on digestion and may even lead to discomfort. Traditional patterns emphasize moderation and listening to the body. Feeling satisfied rather than full allows energy to be directed toward repair and maintenance instead of digestion. Over time, this balance supports better nutrient absorption and overall comfort. Another reason consistency matters is that connective tissue responds slowly by design. Tendons, ligaments, cartilage, and nerve sheaths renew at a much slower rate than muscle tissue. This means improvements may not be obvious in the short term. People may feel discouraged after a few weeks if they expect dramatic change. Understanding the slow nature of tissue adaptation helps set realistic expectations and encourages patience. Subtle changes, such as slightly improved balance or reduced morning stiffness, often precede more noticeable improvements. Long-term habits also support resilience. When the body receives steady nourishment and care, it is better equipped to handle stress, illness, or temporary setbacks. Missing a day or two does not derail progress because the foundation is strong. In contrast, approaches based on extremes can leave the body vulnerable when routines are disrupted. Consistency creates a buffer that supports stability over time. Simple routines are easier to integrate into daily life. Drinking broth at a certain time each day, adding collagen-rich foods to familiar meals, or choosing traditional snacks requires less mental effort than constantly planning new strategies. Reducing decision fatigue makes it more likely that habits will stick. Over months and years, this ease translates into sustained support for joints, muscles, and nerves. Mindful habits also extend beyond food. Gentle daily movement, regular sleep patterns, and stress management all reinforce the benefits of nutritional support. These habits work together, creating a rhythm that supports tissue maintenance. When life becomes busy or stressful, returning to simple routines can help maintain balance. This adaptability is a hallmark of sustainable health practices. Another important aspect of long-term consistency is trust in the process. People who adopt quiet daily habits often do so without constant measurement or comparison. They pay attention to how they feel rather than chasing external benchmarks. This internal focus reduces pressure and encourages a more compassionate relationship with the body. Over time, this mindset supports healthier choices naturally rather than through force. The contrast between quick fixes and long-term habits becomes especially clear when addressing tingling hands and weak legs. These symptoms often develop gradually and reflect cumulative stress on tissues. Expecting them to disappear instantly ignores the time it took for them to develop. Supporting recovery requires acknowledging that reversal also takes time. Consistent habits provide the environment needed for gradual improvement. Another benefit of simple, consistent habits is their accessibility. They do not require specialized equipment, expensive products, or extreme schedules. This makes them more inclusive and realistic for people of different ages and circumstances. When habits are accessible, they are more likely to be maintained, reinforcing their effectiveness. Mindful preparation also encourages connection with food. Preparing collagen-rich foods slowly and intentionally can become a calming ritual rather than a task. This positive association supports emotional well-being, which in turn influences physical health. Stress reduction enhances digestion, circulation, and tissue repair, amplifying the benefits of consistent nourishment. Over time, these habits can reshape how people think about health. Instead of viewing the body as something that needs to be fixed, it becomes something to be supported. This shift reduces frustration and fosters patience. Small daily actions gain meaning as part of a larger pattern of care. Consistency also allows the body to adapt efficiently. Regular signals of nourishment and movement help the body allocate resources appropriately. Muscles, joints, and nerves learn that maintenance is a priority, leading to improved function. Sporadic efforts send mixed signals, making adaptation less efficient. The cumulative effect of these habits can be profound. What begins as a simple change, such as adding a collagen-rich snack each day, can lead to broader lifestyle adjustments. Increased awareness may encourage better posture, more movement, or improved sleep. Each change reinforces the others, creating a positive cycle. Importantly, this approach respects individuality. Not everyone responds the same way or at the same pace. Consistent habits allow for personalization over time. Adjustments can be made based on how the body feels without abandoning the overall pattern. This flexibility supports long-term success. Ultimately, long-term consistency, simple preparation, and mindful habits create a foundation rather than a temporary solution. They align with the body's natural rhythms and capacity for adaptation. By focusing on daily care rather than dramatic intervention, people may find that strength, stability, and comfort improve quietly over time. Tingling sensations may fade into the background. Weakness may give way to confidence. These changes emerge not from urgency, but from patience and trust in the steady accumulation of supportive choices made day after day over years, allowing the body to regain balance and resilience through consistent nourishment,
movement, and attention to its needs.
As we move past the age of 60, the body begins to respond very differently to stress, movement, and even rest than it did earlier in life. And one of the most noticeable changes for many people is how easily blood pressure can rise and how stubborn it can become. What many don't realize is that this change is not simply about aging arteries or genetics, but largely about how the nervous system behaves over time. Years of responsibility, worry, rushed schedules, poor sleep, and unresolved tension slowly train the body to stay in a constant state of alert. The heart beats a little faster than it needs to, the blood vessels stay slightly tighter than they should, and the body forgets how to fully relax. Gentle bed exercises are powerful because they address this exact issue without forcing the body into stress. Instead of demanding effort, they invite calm. Instead of pushing the heart to work harder, they encourage it to slow down. This is especially important for adults over 60 because intense or upright exercise can sometimes cause spikes in blood pressure, dizziness, or fear, which only reinforces the stress response. When the body is lying down and fully supported by the bed, the nervous system immediately receives a signal of safety. Gravity is no longer pulling blood downward aggressively, the muscles don't need to stabilize the body, and the heart doesn't have to fight as hard to circulate blood. This position alone can already reduce strain on the cardiovascular system. When gentle movements and slow breathing are added, the effect becomes even stronger. These types of exercises activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the body responsible for rest, recovery, and healing. This system directly counteracts the stress hormones that raise blood pressure, such as cortisol and adrenaline. For someone over 60, this shift can happen surprisingly fast, sometimes within just a few minutes, which is why many people feel calmer, warmer, and more at ease almost immediately after starting. Another reason these bed exercises are so effective is that they remove fear from the equation. Many older adults live with an underlying worry about their heart, their blood pressure, or their balance. Even the thought of exercise can raise anxiety, which ironically pushes blood pressure higher before any movement even begins. Gentle bed exercises feel safe, familiar, and controlled. There is no fear of falling, no pressure to perform, and no comparison to anyone else. This sense of control is deeply calming to the nervous system. When the brain feels safe, it tells the heart to ease up and allows the blood vessels to widen slightly, which naturally lowers blood pressure. These exercises also work because they are accessible. They don't require special clothing, equipment, or preparation. A person can do them immediately after waking up, before stress has a chance to build, or at night when the body needs to unwind. This accessibility increases consistency, and consistency is one of the most important factors in supporting healthy blood pressure. The body learns through repetition. When it regularly experiences moments of calm movement and slow breathing, it starts to adopt that state more easily throughout the day. Over time, this can reduce how often blood pressure spikes in response to everyday stressors like phone calls, traffic, or worrying thoughts. Gentle bed exercises also support circulation without overloading the heart. As we age, the blood vessels can become less flexible, and the muscles that help push blood back toward the heart, especially in the legs, may weaken from inactivity. When circulation becomes sluggish, the heart has to pump harder to move blood efficiently, which increases blood pressure. Simple movements performed while lying down help stimulate blood flow without forcing the heart to work against gravity. This reduces overall cardiovascular strain and can create a feeling of lightness and ease in the body. Improved circulation also helps deliver oxygen more efficiently, which further supports relaxation and healthy blood pressure levels. Another important aspect is how these exercises influence breathing patterns. Many people over 60 develop shallow, chest-based breathing without realizing it. This type of breathing keeps the body in a low-level stress state and signals the heart to maintain higher pressure. Gentle bed exercises naturally encourage slower, deeper breathing, especially when attention is placed on the belly rather than the chest. Deep breathing increases oxygen intake, slows the heart rate, and directly lowers blood pressure by calming the nervous system. Even just a few minutes of this type of breathing can shift the body out of stress mode and into a state of rest and repair. Sleep quality is another major factor tied to blood pressure, and gentle bed exercises play a role here as well. Poor sleep or restless nights can raise blood pressure and make it harder to control during the day. When these exercises are done in the evening, they help release physical tension and mental worry that often interfere with sleep. A calmer body before bedtime leads to deeper rest, and deeper rest supports healthier blood pressure patterns overnight. This is particularly important because nighttime blood pressure is a strong indicator of cardiovascular health as we age. There is also a psychological benefit that cannot be overlooked. Many adults over 60 feel that their health is slipping out of their control, especially when faced with diagnoses like high blood pressure. Gentle bed exercises restore a sense of agency. They remind the person that they can still actively support their health in a simple, compassionate way. This empowerment reduces feelings of helplessness and anxiety, which are known contributors to high blood pressure. Feeling capable and involved in one's own care has a measurable impact on how the body responds to stress. The beauty of these exercises lies in their simplicity. They don't shock the system or demand willpower. They work with the body's natural rhythms instead of against them. The body is designed to heal and regulate itself when given the right conditions, and gentle bed exercises create those conditions by combining safety, relaxation, movement, and breath. Over time, the nervous system becomes less reactive, the heart doesn't feel the need to overcompensate, and blood pressure becomes easier to manage. For many people, the first noticeable change is not even in the numbers on a blood pressure monitor, but in how they feel. There may be a sense of calm that lingers longer into the morning, less tension in the shoulders and neck, or fewer moments of feeling overwhelmed. These changes matter because they indicate that the underlying stress response is softening. Blood pressure does not exist in isolation. It reflects how the body is responding to life as a whole. When the body feels safer, calmer, and more supported, blood pressure naturally follows that trend. It's also important to understand that these exercises are not about instant fixes or dramatic transformations. They are gentle, cumulative change. Each session may lower blood pressure slightly, but the real power comes from repetition. Over weeks and months, the body learns that it no longer needs to stay in a constant state of alert. This learning process is especially effective in older adults because the nervous system, while slower to change, responds deeply to consistent signals of safety and calm. These exercises also respect the body's limits. Aging joints, reduced flexibility, and past injuries can make many forms of exercise uncomfortable or risky. Bed exercises remove much of that risk. Movements can be made smaller or slower as needed, and the body is always supported. This reduces inflammation and prevents the micro-stress that can occur with more aggressive workouts. Less inflammation means less strain on the cardiovascular system, which again supports healthier blood pressure. These gentle movements also help reconnect the mind and body. Many people live disconnected from their physical sensations, especially after years of pushing through discomfort or ignoring fatigue. Bed exercises encourage awareness of breath, muscle tension, and relaxation. This awareness helps people recognize early signs of stress and respond before blood pressure rises too high. Over time, this self-awareness becomes a valuable tool for managing not just blood pressure, but overall well-being. Perhaps one of the most underestimated benefits is how these exercises change the way the day begins or ends. Starting the morning with calm movement sets a tone of steadiness and control. Ending the day with gentle relaxation allows the body to let go of accumulated stress. Both moments are critical for blood pressure regulation. Instead of reacting to stress all day and collapsing into bed exhausted, the body learns a healthier rhythm that includes intentional calm. For adults over 60, health advice often feels overwhelming, restrictive, or fear-based. Gentle bed exercises offer a different message. They say that improvement doesn't require suffering and that small, kind actions can have meaningful effects.
This approach aligns with how the aging body truly works. It thrives on consistency, patience, and care, rather than intensity and force. When done regularly, these exercises can become a ritual rather than a chore, a quiet moment of connection with the body that feels restorative rather than demanding. That emotional association matters. When an activity feels nurturing, it's far more likely to be sustained long-term. Long-term habits are what ultimately shape blood pressure trends and cardiovascular health. It's also worth noting that these exercises are simple, but they are grounded in real physiological mechanisms. They are not magic or placebo. They work by influencing heart rate variability, vascular tone, breathing efficiency, and nervous system balance. These are all well-known factors in blood pressure regulation. The fact that they can be influenced through gentle movement and breath is empowering, especially for those who feel limited by age or physical condition. Over time, many people notice that their reactions to stress change. Situations
Slow, deep belly breathing may appear simple on the surface, but for adults over 60, it is one of the most direct and effective ways to influence blood pressure because it speaks the language of the nervous system, not willpower or physical strain. Over the years, breathing patterns often change without people noticing. Life becomes busier, stress becomes more constant, and breathing gradually shifts upward into the chest. These shallow breaths are quick and efficient for moments of urgency, but when they become the default pattern, the body interprets life as an ongoing emergency. The heart responds by beating faster, blood vessels remain slightly constricted, and blood pressure stays elevated even during rest. Slow, deep belly breathing gently reverses this pattern by reminding the body that it is safe to relax, and this reminder can happen within minutes. When breathing slows and deepens into the belly, the diaphragm begins to move more fully. This movement massages internal organs, improves oxygen exchange, and directly stimulates the vagus nerve, a key nerve involved in calming the heart and lowering blood pressure. The vagus nerve acts like a brake pedal for the cardiovascular system. When it is activated, heart rate decreases, blood vessels relax, and stress hormones are reduced. For someone over 60, this activation is especially valuable because the body may not respond as quickly to exercise-based stress relief as it once did, but it still responds very well to breathing cues. Another important factor is the length of the exhale. Slow belly breathing typically emphasizes a longer exhale than inhale, and this ratio is critical. A longer exhale sends a strong signal to the brain that danger has passed. The brain, in turn, reduces the output of adrenaline and cortisol, hormones that directly raise blood pressure. Even a few cycles of this type of breathing can lower heart rate variability in a positive way, making the heart's rhythm more stable and efficient. This stability is associated with better blood pressure control and overall cardiovascular health, particularly in older adults. Many people over 60 spend much of their day unconsciously holding tension in the shoulders, neck, jaw, and abdomen. This tension restricts breathing and keeps the body in a semi-contracted state. Slow belly breathing gently releases this tension by encouraging the muscles to soften with each exhale. As the body softens, resistance in the blood vessels decreases. Blood flows more freely, and the heart does not need to generate as much pressure to move it through the body. This process is subtle, but it is powerful, and it explains why people often feel an immediate sense of relief when they begin breathing deeply. There is also a strong connection between breathing and emotional regulation. Emotions like anxiety, worry, and fear are closely tied to breathing patterns. When breathing is shallow and rapid, anxious thoughts tend to increase. When breathing becomes slow and deep, the mind naturally quiets. For adults over 60 who may worry about health, finances, family, or aging itself, this mental quieting is not just comforting, it is physiologically beneficial. Reduced mental stress leads directly to lower blood pressure because the brain is no longer signaling the body to stay on high alert. Another reason slow belly breathing is so effective is that it works even when physical movement is limited. Some individuals over 60 may have joint pain, balance issues, or chronic conditions that make exercise challenging. Breathing, however, remains accessible. It can be done lying down, sitting, or even during moments of discomfort. This accessibility allows people to use breathing as a tool whenever they feel tension building, rather than waiting for a scheduled exercise session. The more frequently the body experiences this calming signal, the easier it returns to a relaxed state. The relationship between breathing and blood pressure is also tied to carbon dioxide tolerance. Shallow breathing tends to expel too much carbon dioxide, which can actually constrict blood vessels and increase blood pressure. Slow breathing allows carbon dioxide levels to balance properly, which helps blood vessels remain relaxed. This is a lesser-known mechanism, but it plays a meaningful role in how breathing affects circulation. Over time, improved carbon dioxide tolerance supports more stable blood pressure and reduces sensitivity to stress. Sleep is another area where slow belly breathing has a significant impact. Many adults over 60 experience difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, and poor sleep is strongly linked to higher blood pressure. Practicing slow breathing before bed helps transition the body into a rest state by lowering heart rate and reducing mental activity. When sleep improves, nighttime blood pressure often becomes more stable, which is crucial for long-term cardiovascular health. The body performs much of its repair work during sleep, and breathing helps create the conditions necessary for that repair to occur. Slow belly breathing also improves awareness of the body. As people focus on the rise and fall of the abdomen, they become more attuned to subtle sensations of tension or relaxation. This awareness allows them to intervene earlier when stress begins to build. Instead of waiting until blood pressure spikes or symptoms appear, they can use breathing as a preventative tool. Prevention is particularly important as we age because recovery from stress becomes slower, and repeated spikes in blood pressure can cause cumulative strain on the heart and blood vessels. Another powerful aspect of slow breathing is how it restores a sense of control. High blood pressure can make people feel powerless, as if their body is acting independently of their intentions. Breathing is one of the few bodily functions that is both automatic and consciously controllable. This dual nature makes it a unique bridge between the mind and body. When someone realizes they can influence their heart rate and sense of calm simply by changing how they breathe, it often reduces fear and helplessness. Reduced fear itself contributes to lower blood pressure. Consistency plays a major role in the effectiveness of slow belly breathing. While even a few minutes can produce noticeable changes, the body adapts best to repeated practice. Over time, breathing patterns begin to shift naturally, even outside of intentional practice. The breath becomes slower at rest, the exhale becomes longer, and the nervous system spends more time in a relaxed state. This baseline shift is what supports lasting improvements in blood pressure, rather than temporary relief. There is also a strong connection between breathing and emotional regulation. Emotions like anxiety, worry, and fear are closely tied to breathing patterns.
When breathing is shallow and rapid, anxious thoughts tend to increase. When breathing becomes slow and deep, the mind naturally quiets. For adults over 60 who may worry about health, finances, family, or aging itself, this mental quieting is not just comforting, it is physiologically beneficial. Reduced mental stress leads directly to lower blood pressure because the brain is no longer signaling the body to stay on high alert. Another reason slow belly breathing is so effective is that it works even when physical movement is limited. Some individuals over 60 may have joint pain, balance issues, or chronic conditions that make exercise challenging. Breathing, however, remains accessible. It can be done lying down, sitting, or even during moments of discomfort. This accessibility allows people to use breathing as a tool whenever they feel tension building, rather than waiting for a scheduled exercise session. The more frequently the body experiences this calming signal, the easier it returns to a relaxed state. The relationship between breathing and blood pressure is also tied to carbon dioxide tolerance. Shallow breathing tends to expel too much carbon dioxide, which can actually constrict blood vessels and increase blood pressure. Slow breathing allows carbon dioxide levels to balance properly, which helps blood vessels remain relaxed. This is a lesser-known mechanism, but it plays a meaningful role in how breathing affects circulation. Over time, improved carbon dioxide tolerance supports more stable blood pressure and reduces sensitivity to stress. Sleep is another area where slow belly breathing has a significant impact. Many adults over 60 experience difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, and poor sleep is strongly linked to higher blood pressure. Practicing slow breathing before bed helps transition the body into a rest state by lowering heart rate and reducing mental activity. When sleep improves, nighttime blood pressure often becomes more stable, which is crucial for long-term cardiovascular health. The body performs much of its repair work during sleep, and breathing helps create the conditions necessary for that repair to occur. Slow belly breathing also improves awareness of the body. As people focus on the rise and fall of the abdomen, they become more attuned to subtle sensations of tension or relaxation. This awareness allows them to intervene earlier when stress begins to build. Instead of waiting until blood pressure spikes or symptoms appear, they can use breathing as a preventative tool. Prevention is particularly important as we age because recovery from stress becomes slower and repeated spikes in blood pressure can cause cumulative strain on the heart and blood vessels. Another powerful aspect of slow breathing is how it restores a sense of control. High blood pressure can make.
If you're over 60 and you've ever been told your blood pressure's creeping up, or maybe you're already on medication and still not happy with your numbers, I want you to listen very closely to the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share with you is something most people never hear from their doctor. And no, this is not intense exercise, no sweating, no standing, and no gym. In fact, you don't even have to get out of bed. These are 3 incredibly simple movements you can do lying down that may help lower blood pressure in just minutes. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, these are gentle, doctor-approved movements based on how the nervous system, circulation, and breathing actually work in the body as we age. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do the moment you wake up or right before you go to sleep to help your body calm down and support healthier blood pressure naturally.